So first of all, today's our third audience with interview, and questions have been sent in by you guys, the members of the GFS, and these questions I'm going to ask the enigma of the George Formby Society. He's been involved in the GFS for over 20 years. He set himself up on his own, the George Formby website, 25 years ago. He's recorded lots of conventions, taken lots of photographs. He's produced discs of each convention. And for 10 years, he ran the shop with his beautiful wife, Catherine Pollard, who deserves a medal for putting up with Peter. He's also involved in helping to run the George Formby virtual thrash 2 nights a week. And I met Peter at the Castleford branch at Tetley Dave's many years ago. And he's visited lots of the branches, the local branches he supported, as well as helped run the Yorkshire Ukulele Circle. He's visited in the past with Dennis Taylor, the then president, nearly, I believe, all the branches, because when I went down to Essex branch, Reg, who runs the Essex branch, told me, I was the first committee member there since Peter Pollard and Dennis had visited them. And then he's been made an honorary member nearly 10 to 11 years ago. And he supports all things George Formby related, including the society. And of course, I am talking about Peter Pollard. And I'd like to welcome Peter and Catherine to our interview. And hope you're fine and doing well. Our first question, which has been sent in.
It didn't involve mathematics, does it?
No. What was your first memory when you joined the George Formby Society? What's your first memory when you joined the GFS?
What's your first memory?
My first memory is I'm finally in, because I knew about society in 1970s. I don't know how I knew. I must have read it somewhere or seen it on telly, but I knew there were a George Formby Society, and I thought, well, must be at library. I can find out from library. They'll tell me, they'll have an address, they'll have a reference. Back to the library, they didn't have any books. No, they did, but they didn't know about George Formby. I went to Dewsbury Library, and same thing. This is in 1970s, but I did know there were a society. But I had a young family, and I was busy. I was a working lad, working in insurance. So I just got on with my life and had a couple of LPs of George Formby, and of course I listened to a lot of other stuff as well. But I got into society basically through misfortune, because in 1989 I had a very, very serious illness, and I had to be off work for quite some time. And in 1990, again, I was in Dewsbury Library. I was recovering from this illness. I was off work a couple of years, wasn't I? And I was just used to go down and read papers and go through books and all that, like you do, killing time. And I'll never forget, I would read it Daily Mirror, and in reference library, funnily enough. And I read 1990, summer 1990, it said 1991 for 3 months, for about June to September in Warrington, there's going to be an exhibition of George Formby memorabilia to celebrate, well, not celebrate, it's not the right name really, the anniversary, the 30th anniversary of George Formby's death. And I thought, I'm in, that's it. And I had a friend called Philip Brown, lovely, my best mate at work. And we always used to have away days. In insurance, you could do what you wanted. As long as you give them some business at the end of the week, it didn't matter. You could do what you liked. And I said to Philip, I said, come on, we're going to have a day out in Warrington. We're going to go and see this George Formby exhibition. And I'd known Philip about 10 or 12 years then. And we're walking around, and I loved it. I remember, I can see it now, walking through the door and seeing Stan Evans and Anthony Mason, and I joined immediately. Philip didn't bother joining, he only went for a day out. But I joined straight away, and we're walking through all these exhibits, and it was wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I'll never forget it. And Philip just happened to remark, he says, my dad would like this. And I says, what is a George Formby fan like? He says, oh yeah, he says he is, he plays. Well, Philip's dad lived about 10 minutes from where we lived. I says, bloody hell, Philip, I've known you all these years and you never said that. And I says, I've always been a George Formby fan from a kid. And so I says, let's bring your dad. And when we brought his, and I brought a video camera at the second time, when we brought his dad, they call him Stan Brown. As soon as he walked through the door, Stan Evans and Anthony Mason knew him straight away. And in fact, Anthony Mason gave him a uke and he started playing, and he was great. I mean, he could play, he played a Dollar's D, and he was lovely, lots of chords at Stan, a lovely player, lovely man. And that's basically how I sort of, that's my first memory at George Formby Society. But that was in the summer of 1991, and I joined and we gone, and I got to know Stan. And then at Christmas, that I never ever joined. I never expected to play an instrument. I didn't want to play an instrument. I was more interested in photography and video and all this sort of thing. And at Christmas 1991, we're opening my Christmas presents. And this video, I should tell you, I kept showing it to everybody. Everybody came to our house, all my friends, I showed them this video. I'm a bored and I'm going on a bit. And Catherine and kids, they give me this box and they're saying, be careful, Dad, it's very fragile, you know, don't drop it. And I thought, they've bought me a puppy, it's a pet. They've brought me a puppy dog or something like that. And when I opened it up, it was a banjo ukulele. And I thought, what has she done? What's she bloody done? What am I going to do with that? No idea. But Stan Brown told me at Warrington when we're gone about the Yorkshire Ukulele Circle. So before and I'm not going to take all this time with every question, I promise you, but before I got to Blackpool to my first convention, I was already familiar with the Yorkshire Ukulele Circle by about 5 or 6 months. So I knew Dennis Taylor. I knew Dennis Taylor and got to know Dennis straight away. Within a couple of meetings, we knew him, didn't we, Catherine? And so me going to Blackpool for the first time, and it was 1992, but I can't remember when. And I remember walking through the door, and I went on my own, but I knew people like Dennis Taylor, Trevor Brown, who were chairman at Society. There were a few good people at the York Circle that were already involved. And I honestly thought to myself as I walked through the door, and as the first hour, I thought, I'm never, ever going to leave this. This is going to be me now forever. I'm getting emotional. I'm thinking about it. And I was overwhelmed with people, with the occasion, with the instruments. And I met Alan Southworth that day, and I asked him, I says, the only reason I talked to Alan, he had a mute on his banjo uke. And I says, what's that? Nobody else has got, what is it? And from that, I struck a friendship up with Alan Southworth, which lasted right until his death. Well, and even now we sort of, we see Hilda now and again. So that's my first memories at George Formby Society. I'll never forget getting my first 2 vellums. In them days, I don't know if it happens now, but you get 2 vellums when you first joined. And I was going to work one Monday morning, and my 2 vellums came through the door, and I cancelled all my calls, and I just sat and read the 2 vellums. I read them from cover to cover. And I knew straight away all I wanted to do was be in George Formby Society. It took over my life right from the very beginning.
Peter, what uke did your family buy you then? What type of uke did you buy?
What make of uke?
It was a Musima. It's a long lost but very, very special instrument. Yeah, no. It had a plastic vellum on it. And when I got the uke, I've always been into technology, at computers then. I spent a fortune on an hi-fi system because I could hear then. And all I had to do was press a button and lights would come on and something would happen. With a banjo ukulele, and there were no electric tuners then either, with a banjo ukulele, you had to do something. And I thought, I'm never going to get this, never going to get it in a million years. And I don't want to. I used to watch them at Youth Circle and George Formby side when I first come, and I thought, I'm not going to go on that stage ever. In fact, I started taking a video camera to George Formby Society because I thought, well, I've ever got this in front of me, nobody's ever going to ask me to play. And I never took a uke. I never expected to be a player. Never expected to be a player. You're laughing at Kevin Staniland.
Okay, thank you, Peter. And our second question was, apart from the Royal Albert Hall, what is your most memorable event with the George Formby Society?
Memorable
Apart from Royal Albert Hall.
Well, how can you top Albert Hall? That is so difficult to answer, because that occasion, I will remember that for the rest of my days. And there's people on the air that went as well. And I think it's like a band of brothers, the people who went to Albert Hall. I wish you could have all come. It was fabulous. But that isn't the question, I know. Sorry. I've got to keep doing that. Well, I remember, and I remember because it cost me 70 quid to hire a suit. We had a special convention in March 2011. I think it was 40th anniversary of George's death. And we did the songs from the film thing. We all had to get dressed up in Kathy did it, didn't you, Kathy? You were on it, look. And John Wally, of course. There were only two here that were on it. And I wanted to do 9 o'clock. So I wanted to do it in the suit like George had. In off the door, he's got this evening dress on. And I got it as near as I could, didn't I? Yeah. And I did look resplendent, I must admit. And so I hired this suit, and like I said, it cost me 70 quid. That shows how much I love society. and of course, being an early song in the early part, we're on his second film. I was going to be on stage fairly quickly, but I never. And by this time, of course, my hearing's not as good as I'd like it to be, and you always have these apprehensions when you get on any stage, even today with this. But I did it, and I think I did all right. It went down well. And I actually played with Ken Smith. We did it in the Icebox and wore straw booties. It's second half of that show. So that was a special event for me. But another landmark, in my opinion, and I think some of you in here must agree, is getting Ted Formby to come to George Formby Society. And that, just to be brief to tell you, I got the job on the committee at one time. Somebody had noticed that the grave in Warrington needed some repairs. It needed some restoration work doing. And I got the job of doing it. I volunteered. And you had to do any work on that grave, you had to get the permission, written permission of a member of the family. And George's sister, Ella, were in the United States. Another sister were in South Africa. The only bloke I could, and another sister were in Brinsworth House and didn't want very well. The only person I could think of was Ted Formby. But at that time, sadly, Ted were embittered against the society from, he'd read some things that described him as, it didn't do him any favours. So I had to ring him and say, can I have your permission? We will pay all costs, and we're going to be substantial at about £1,200 then, and it's in the 90s. And he said, no, definitely not. I'll deal with it. I'll sort everything out. I don't want nothing to do with George Formby Society whatsoever. And so I put phone down, and I thought, well, that's it. What do you do now? But a few nights later, a lady called Molly Cohen telephoned our house. And she lived in St. Helens. And Molly Cohen, she's on some George Formby photographs. She was a friend at family. She knew them all very, very well, especially George's mother and father. And she said, Ted's had a look at what it's going to cost. And he's changed his mind. And will you come to my apartment in St. Helens, and we'll arrange a date and come over, and we will all meet up and discuss this. And I was so excited. This was late at night, because I used to work at night time, going in insurance. And I come home and I talked to Molly Cohen. I rung Dennis Taylor straight away, and it must have been about 10, 11 o'clock at night by that time, but Dennis never went to bed early. And I said, Dennis, we're going to go meet Ted Farnby, and we're going to go to Warrington, to St. Helens, to this lady's house. And Molly Cohen was a lovely lady. I'll never forget. Catherine couldn't come for some reason. I don't know why, but Pat, Dennis's wife, Pat, and me and Dennis, we all went in car and we went over to St. Helens. And when we got to Molly Cohen's house, it was lovely. Walking through the door at Molly Cohen's house, she's got these full, really almost floor to ceiling theatre posters of George's dad on different walls, and that it was a beautiful apartment. She was obviously a lady of substance. And Ted was there, of course, and his wife, Wynne. And to cut a long story short, with a lovely, lovely day, spent a lovely afternoon into evening with them. Ted had brought George, his father's date book, and we poured through that, and you could see how much he earned. And at the end of it, we were all firm friends. And Dennis, being president, said, would you come to Blackpool? Will you come? The members would love to meet you. And he agreed. And he was in the society till his death. And I know there's a lot in here would remember him. We made him patron at society. It was a nice thing to do. He was a lovely fella. And he loved the attention that the members give him. That's got to be, I think, an important event in my life, getting Ted to come, you know. But I knew it. I used to do subscriptions at one time, handing out memberships, and a lady called Kay Walsh, I remember, who was a film star, and she was in a couple of Georgia films, a very well-known film star, and she was in Icy Ice. And there's a lovely photo of Kay Walsh, and she's got like a skating costume and she's in a pose. And I had this photo and I just made it up at computer and I sent these little pictures, put all that Kay Walsh, and I posted it afterwards just for something to do because Ellie's dress was in database. And she started ringing it, didn't she? And she said, Kay Walsh is ringing again, you've got to ring her back. That was nice to talk to Kay Walsh, who were married to a famous film director, David Lean. That's it. So I was interested in movies, and it was nice to talk to Kay Walsh. But I have to say, in answer to your question, the most memorable event. I met Barbara Perry as well. Me and Dennis went and met Barbara Perry, and that was nice. I think getting Ted Farnby to come to Blackpool and come to George Farnby Society when he'd been so sadly embittered against it, and he loved it. So yeah, that's my special.
Thank you. You spoke, Peter, about these incredible events you've organised and you've been involved with. But what about the grassroots? You visited Castleford and South Yorkshire branch of the GFS. You visited West Houghton and Sale branches recently. What makes a good branch?
Well, of course, we've run Yorkshire Ukulele Circle, especially with Kevin and Kathy now, for a long, long time, a lot of years. To me, and this might be a bit personal, not personal, but I'm MC at the Yorkshire Ukulele Circle, and I think you've got to be a bit, you've got to try and entertain, and you've got to make people welcome. I think you've got to talk to people from stage. You don't have to be a great player. It's just people like to feel as if they're part of it, and I would always like to do it. It's a bit like being on Zoom on a Thursday and Friday night. I like people to be as involved as I can make them. I don't think you really need a big stage, but a stage. I don't think you even need a stage. There's certain branches I go to, and there's a big stage, and it's too far away, and all this sort of thing. And there's no atmosphere. You don't even need, like I said, atmosphere is such a big thing. One of the scruffiest places we ever went to, and you went a lot, Andy, what Shoulder of Mutton in Castleford. You wouldn't go for a drink, it was rough, but it had atmosphere. It was a fabulous branch, and it was run by a bloke called Tetley Dave Parker, a real character, and It was just a poky little pub, but everything was right about it. It had a bit of magic. Maybe it's Castleford itself, because Andy runs the Castleford branches. Wherever, when Tetley Dave died and Shoulder Mutton failed, Andy took it over and went to a different venue, and it still had a bit of magic. It didn't have a stage, did he, Andy?
No,
It still had a bit of magic, and his latest club in Castleford is brilliant. It is. You just need to be. You need good facilities. You need a nice bar, and you need a decent car park, and that's important. But I think basically you need to entertain folk, and you don't need to drone on like what I do now and again.
Yeah.
But that's basically it, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really true, because I think back to when I first started, and it was the atmosphere and the friendships that he made at the venue at Castleford, at Tetley Dave's, Kevin, Daz, Dennis, Tom. I remember that was really important for me as a player and as a member of the GFS to feel welcome, like you were saying, Peter.
Yeah, I mean, your ukulele circle is more about the different places, and we've always made a reasonable success of it. Sadly, a lot of people get older and they don't get replaced, but basically, I just like to put a bit of myself into it, try and entertain a little bit, and make folk feel welcome. Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. I mean, not only have you been, you've been running the uke circle and support the local GFS branches, but you've also been a member of the executive committee of the GFS. And before you left the committee, you were the vice president. In your many years being on the committee, what task have you done which has been the most important and giving you the most satisfaction? Most on the committee.
I think without a shadow of a doubt, I'll go straight to the first one, but there's various things I could think of. The thing that's given me the most satisfaction, and I think has been of the best benefit to society, has been website. And it was only started because of my problems in not being able to get online and not being able to join society. And once I were in, and I were always on internet, even before probably before I joined society. Yeah, I mean, I was on internet from early days, and I didn't know much about all this HTML code. I just thought all you needed to do, if you could just get a couple of pages with an address on and a telephone number, it would cut a lot of corners. I didn't know then. It was before Google, would you believe? I didn't know then about search engines. I had no idea. I knew about internet, but that was it. And the first website had 3 pages to it, and it was done with a thing called Microsoft Front Page. You just wrote a page and pressed a button, and it changed it into code, and that was it. It was very clever. But then I met a bloke called Peter Lee, who had a website for a man called Joseph Locke, who was a singer, of course, some of you may remember. And he had a lovely website. It was really well designed, and it like buttons that deep pressed. It was really clever. And I had no idea who this chap was. But I wrote to him and he said, how do you get your buttons to do that and all this sort of thing? And he wrote back to me, and he's still writing back to me 25 years later. He's one of the best friends I've got, and he's been a great friend for George Formby Society. He's helped me so much. He's done so many, many things. Other things I actually started the George Formby shop. That was it. I mean, everybody thinks Dennis did it, but I'm being pedantic now, but for the first, at one time, there's always been a George Formby shop. There was a George Formby shop at Warrington, but the society didn't benefit from it. It didn't get any money from it, or very little. And in the early 90s, and I was on committee, I thought the shop should be giving us some money back. We should get some money. It's our venue. We're paying for this Winter Gardens, it was then. Surely the shop should be giving some revenue. So I didn't want to shut any shops down, but I started a second shop, and I only did it for 2 conventions. And then I says to Dennis Taylor, and it was okay. It was just memorabilia. Then I knew a chap in Birmingham who had a massive collection of stuff, and he gave me some stuff to sell, and I got some CDs and stuff. And after 2 meetings, I says to Dennis Taylor, I can't do it anymore. I've got too many things to do, because I was sat on desk doing subscriptions as well. It was ridiculous. I don't even do it cinema at one time. And so Dennis took it over, and I can't remember what year it was, it'd be about 95 and 96, but Dennis took it over and he ran it until he passed away. And when he passed away, me and Catherine were up committee, and it seemed on, well, to be honest with you, no other volunteers were there. And I think the website's special, but we made a lot of money for the society in 9 years that we run it, didn't we? And we couldn't have done it. I couldn't have done it. I did web pages and all that stuff. Catherine did our organisation of that.
Yeah.
She took that's why she's an honorary member as well. But she was worth it for more than that. She did 16 years at committee, so she's paid her dues. But I've done video editing, a modernised database. Did a lot of things. Silly things at society. Like I say, I sat on the door doing subs until I couldn't hear, and people were coming in and talking to me, and I couldn't give them an answer. It was ridiculous. And eventually I had to say, get me out of this, because So a lot of things I've done, but website at George Formby Shop, being involved in it, are definitely the things that I like to think made a contribution. Both of us.
I think, Peter, I think the website and running the shop has been really important for society's health and given us a great foundation to move on. So well done, Peter, and well done, Catherine Pollard. Moving on to our next question. Yes, you're right, Pam. Large amount of work.
Can I just interrupt you a minute? I'm supposed to. I'm recording this, but it's all on little pitch. It don't matter, does it? I can't be bothered pressing buttons. Don't matter. Sorry, carry on.
Well, we'll repeat it next week. Okay. And my next question. You're a ukulele player. You've had many ukuleles, Markendales. You've had a baby Markendale Gibson. You've had a silhouette Markendale. You've got Ludwig's. You've had even a Cartwright ukulele, and you even own your most recent uke is an Eddie Utley Dreamer. Okay. So of all these ukes, if you had to choose one ukulele, which one would you have and why?
How can you answer that?
Be careful, Peter, because Eddie's on.
I'll start. I've got to say something about them all the ones I've got now. I haven't got many. It's like I said at the beginning, I would never dream.
Sorry, Peter, can I just interrupt you? I'd like to point out to all of our new members, there's many members who've just started playing, watching this interview, that you only need one uke. What's the point of having more than one uke? You can only play one at a time.
Entirely. Absolutely.
So, Kevin.
I've got 4 banjo ukuleles and I've got wooden uke. I used to have a Martin. Whenever I got a decent uke, I used to sell them. I'd sell one when I needed another lens or another camera. I've spent a fortune on. I've got 2 Ludwigs. One of them, and they're both customised. And one of them were, again, Catherine bought me at Musimar, and about 15 or 16 years since, she bought me a customised Ludwig. And again, it was a total surprise. And it's a beautiful instrument. I keep it in key C, and it sounds lovely. And I've played it all the time. It's a lovely instrument. I've got an Eddie Utley Dreamer. I only got it last year, in COVID. Yeah. I love it. It's bright red. And when I'm not playing a wooden uke on Zoom, I just want to go to Blackpool and play that on stage. It's bright red. It's got a perfect action. It's loud. It's got to be loud because it's bright red. It's lovely. I love it to bits. They're all my favourites, different reasons. But I have to say, the one uke I would, you got to part with them all one day. They're only loaned as all this lot. They're only ours for a certain time. Is the one I got when Dennis Taylor died, and that is his Ludwig. You all know it. It's out there if you want to get it. Do you want to show it? Just pop and get it. It's got that with RAF stickers on it. And when Dennis died, and I was very close to Dennis, I think a lot of people were close to Dennis, but we worked together and did so many things at all to do with society, but we were good friends as well. And when I used to say to Dennis, because it says JC on Peghead, and he used to say, "Who's JC?" And he said, "I've no idea. And you can see, I don't know if you can see this on. You probably can't see it on thing, but it says JC just above my. It probably says it there. Look, if I can get light right, it's JC. But you can see it's a beautiful instrument. I don't think there's another one like it at GFS. It's just lovely, and it's of course it come from Dennis Taylor. And when Dennis died, there were a bit of a stampede to get this instrument, and I didn't join it, I have to say. But Pat Taylor rung me, and she said, "There's a lot of people wanting this instrument," but she says, "I've had a bit kids, and we want you to have it. They weren't going to give me." She says, "Do you want to buy it?" And I said, "I'd love it. Of course I would love it." I says, "But to be honest with you, what I can give you," and I give it a fair price, I says, I can get you 3 times that." And I knew some wealthy people who desperately wanted it, won't pay a lot of money for it. And she says, "No, we want you to have it." And Dennis, and I've still got it, and I love it. It's very special to me. It's Dennis. I'll say, I'm playing Dennis's uke tonight. It's still referred to as Dennis's uke, isn't it? So I've had a Martin. I flogged it to buy a lens or something, and I've got a Carla. My wooden uke's a Carla. Throughout my GFS life, we organised 7 boat trips on Caledonia Canal. GFS lads, Dale Norman, Ian Walker, all this lot, Brian Knott, God bless him. And they all had Carla instruments. Tom Fletcher's got one, I think. If you don't know, is there is Tom? Yeah.
It's on.
And I thought, I'm going to have to get a wooden uke, because I flogged this at Martin. And I got one of these Carlas. It was about £165. And it's just as good. It's a lovely instrument. I've never missed that Martin for one day. It was a lovely instrument, don't get me wrong, but this Carla's lovely. But in answer to your question, I love them all. I love them all. They're all going to have to go one day. I know they are. We all have to go one day. But Dennis's uke, without a shadow of a doubt, I love it. It's so special for me. It is. Oh, and the thing of it was JC, I didn't tell you that. When Dennis died, I got a phone call from Ray Bernard, and who had got Dennis this instrument. He fetched it from America, did Ray Bernard. And he said, "You've got. I understand you've got the uke." And I says, "Yeah." And he says, "I got that instrument from Judy Canova." I says, "I've no idea what you're talking about." He says, JC. I says, "Well, no, that nobody knew." Yeah, that's Judy Canova. That's a film she was in, Judy Canova. Yeah, somebody bought me that when I got the instrument. And Judy Canova was a bit like George Farmer. She made about 25 films in the United States, and she had her own radio show. She was in theatres and all this. She was a bit like Lucille Ball, a bit of a scatterbrain. You can check her. She's on Wikipedia. I've not got no photos of Judy Canova with the instrument, unfortunately, but Ray Bernard shows me that's her instrument, and she had all that done, all that nice work she had done on it. So it's Dennis's uke, but it's very, very special. So
thank you, Peter. Yeah, that's great. Excuse me. Going back onto characters of the GFS, who was the most memorable past member of the society that you've actually met?
Again, it's got to be Dennis Taylor for me. I knew him so well, and I'm not decrying anybody today. We have another president now who's done some great work, Royal Albert Hall or whatever. He's done things as well. He's been a good president. But to me, Dennis Taylor modernised the GFS. He put them. The GFS is a fairly wealthy society, and Dennis Taylor made a lot of that happen, in my humble opinion. Dennis were so special for Farnborough society. He was so organised. He was such a clever, he had a great brain on him, brilliant, but a lovely, lovely man. But if ever you walked into the room, a new member or whatever, he'd seek you out and get to know you and make you welcome. Dennis Taylor, it was a great lesson for anybody who were doing anything like that. A lovely, lovely man. And I think about him. So everything I did, Dennis Taylor touched, is there all the time. But I also, I think of Alan Southworth, who I met on that very first convention. I could never play like Alan Southworth. And he used to keep saying to me, he lived in Preston, come over and spend day. And I will do, Alan. And I never did. To my shame, I never did. And when we went over after he died, Hilda used to say, his wife, she used to say, he would really look forward to you coming. And I thought, why didn't I go? I could have been, like I said, I never wanted to be a great player. I just wanted to, as long as I can get through, that'll do. But I could have been, if I'd have followed on Southworth, he was a fantastic player, a wonderful player. But I'm talking about people passed on. I'm going to say somebody else, but I won't because he's not gone. Sorry, Sandy, you carry on.
Well, what I was going to say about Alan Southworth, is there anyone else who's influenced your playing as a youth, barring me? I know that's, except for me, is anyone else who's helped you play? Who's influenced your playing?
Oh, Andy, don't put yourself outside this, because I've had many singing partners in my George Farnborough career, and you are the longest server. You really are. And without, I couldn't get on a Blackpool stage if it weren't for you or any other good people who've come on with. I've played with Dennis Lee, I've done with some Fletcher, I've sung with Kevin, some with Kathy, I've sung with loads of folk. But you're my regular singing partner, and it means a lot to me. It does that. It really does. But for people, like I said, I never wanted to be a player. I'm never that into. I'm not driven with instruments. I don't need to possess an Abbott Monic or out like this. It doesn't bother me at all. I'm lucky because I've got some good. It's a better question to say, who is your favourite players? And right at the beginning, a young lad when I joined was a stunningly good player, and his memories, his mannerisms, it was George. It looked like George Farnborough, where he looked sometimes. I like Carl Martin Harrison. He don't come now. Fabulous player. Anthony Mason, what a wonderful player. Dickie Speake, who Yorkshire Ukulele Circle, when I first went, Dickie Speake was a god. And I think when Dickie once told me he joined society in 1968, and he'd already cracked it out. He was a bit like Lewis Clifton. Is Lewis here?
Yes, yeah.
When Lewis walked into society, his first meeting, he could do it all. He could do it all. It was a natural. And Dickie Speake was saying, he told me he practiced by slowing down records to a really pedestrian pace at George's strokes, and he got it off doing that. Probably ruined his record player, ruined his record, but he did. Jack Jones was another. Funny enough, I only found a CD not long since, and I don't know where I got it from. And I've put some of it onto internet, onto a website. And to listen to Jack doing them nice and steady, I've never wanted to rush the playing. Why would you want to? It sounds lovely to be nice and steady. And Jack Jones was, I've got a story about Jack Jones. When I, there was a man called Gordon Markendale who, I don't know if I should tell you this, but I got a man called Gordon Markendale, early 90s, yes. And he came out with an Abbott Monic copy called the Silhouette and a Baby Gibson UB3 copy. And I bought them both, and like you do. And I remember going to Warrington, they used to have meetings at Patton Arms, and I'm sat right up front row because I'm videoing. I think it was when George's sister came from America, but when they were doing South Bank show or something like that, and she came over and they did a special thing for her. And Jack's on stage playing his uke, and I think he broke his string. And he said, "Oh, I broke my string. Is there another Gibson anywhere about?" Well, I've got this Markendale Baby Gibson, it was brand. And I'm sat at front row, and I says, "Here, Jack, do you want this?" "Oh no, I don't want one of them. I want a proper." And I thought, I just spent 350 quid on that, doesn't it? But it was a lovely man, was Jack, and a brilliant player. But again, I'm going to say just one more, and I'm going to say him again, Dennis Taylor. Fabulous. As technicians go, like Mike Warren, no, but Dennis had his own lovely, relaxed style and his own way of doing things, and he was a good player.
Lady fair, beware, look out, and other care is in the air.
He was a good player, and I once remember going to see Dennis. I went with him to Lincoln to one of these wartime festival things, and there were 2,000 people in the audience, and he played to this full orchestra, not just him, but a lot of other people. But it went on late at night, and I thought, sooner you than me, Dennis. And he went on stage, and they're a consummate professional. He was brilliant. He was so good at everything he did. So yeah, them's my favourites. Lewis Clifton today and Stuart Lowther are my modern favourites. Them two are so good. But, and I've got to say this, you don't need to be that good. You just need to enjoy it and do your own thing and sing your songs. That's all I say. You know?
Yeah, enjoy it. I think that's really important, to enjoy playing.
Absolutely. You've got to, if you're so frustrated that you can't, because you can't get them strokes, what's the point? And I've never been one, I just do my own thing. And I've no idea when I did this thing this afternoon, and I'm thinking, oh, hang on a minute, is this one an old? I can't forget that one. That's a nice instrument. Mr. Flagde's at shop on the family again. 15 quid. No, just enjoy yourself, I think. You know, who needs to be? Just do it. You'll still get a clap. It's the nice folk in this society. Yeah. Carry on, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you, Peter. It's all right, don't worry about time, got plenty of time. Okay, if you were holding a dinner party in your house, which GFS members would you invite? Now, I bet I can guess you'd invite Dennis Taylor.
Well, you won't be coming to start, because every time you come to our house, you eat up crisps.
That's not me, it's Cassie.
What did he say?
That's not him.
No, but what did he say?
Oh, who would you invite for dinner?
Oh, right. Well, there's one in here I'd definitely invite, and that's John Wally. And I've had dinner with John Wally. I've had dinner on numerous occasions with John and Jill, both me and Catherine. And he would always find a place at my table, at our table. I'll tell you a story about John Wally, and you all know this one is so legendary, and he's had his own interview in that. We were visiting John and Jill, and he took us to a restaurant, and we're eating his dinner, and a man came up halfway through our dinner, and which I thought, what's going on here? And he just turned this, and Mr. Wally, and John's, you know, and he says, you might not remember me. These aren't, John will remember it differently, but these are the words I remember. He says, you might not remember me, but you were my teacher at school, and I'm a successful businessman now. And you, Mr. Wally, it's all down to you. You did everything for me. You opened my life up. You made me read. You made me find things. He did everything for him. And I just thought, what a teacher, John. What a man John Wally is. A lovely man. And when John, I wasn't paying, because you don't pay for auto, you come from Batley, you know. I wasn't paying for meal. When John went to pay, this lovely man had paid for all four of us, had paid for his meals. And John and Jill eat quite a lot of food and the drinking all the time. So the bill was quite expensive. but that, who wouldn't want John Wally to sit at your table? The wealth of knowledge that John Wally has in here, and even after his interview on Zoom, and after I've done 2 videos with John, I did one with Jerry Maudsley, and we used to sell it at shop. I mean, I don't know what I loved it, because it was all about John. And the thing about John Wally is you'll be sat talking to him, and he'll come out with something you definitely never heard of before about George, and you think, how much more have you got in there? You can, you know. When Dennis Taylor saw that interview with John Wally, he says, Peter, he says, it's brilliant. There's only one thing wrong with it. I says, what's that? He says, I'm not in it. I says, well, we'll do another. And it was just after we'd gone back to Imperial. And I said, what we'll do, Dennis, we'll get John and we'll take him into the room where it all started on the very first meeting in September 61. And we did. And we did about a 35-minute talk. Dennis is talking with John. And again, it's lovely. It's lovely. It's special memories. And I'm not being funny now, but nobody's good forever. It's locked in. We've got all these things to look at and learn from. So John Wally. And I've been in convention. I've been in a room with Bill Logan, but who of course was first president when I first started, but I never remember him. I never talked to him. So I would like to include Bill Logan in this dinner party. And just you know, I'd love to talk to that bloke, because he was obviously deeply in love with George Formby and all this sort of thing. And the other man that comes to mind, and it's probably a man that you think, who the hell's that? Is a man called Kevin Daly. And I've never met him. I would have loved to meet Kevin Daly. Kevin was another founder member, and he worked at Decca Records, I think it was. And he was involved in the recording side. He was a very technical fella. And I'm sure he would have met, John Wally knows him, I know he does. He probably an old friend of John's. And I'm sure he would have a lot of things I would like to ask him. But I would also like to say, Catherine would have to do cooking. Because she has influenced she's always supported my George Formby Society Live. Our George Formby Society Live is all you lot. All our friends outside we had before society, and we didn't cut them off, but you do drift away from them. We never see them now. All we see is society people. And so Catherine's got to be, Catherine has got to be part of whatever we would do. So Catherine does cooking, and she's a nice cook as well. And she's a lot to say. I'll tell you something about Catherine. She did 16 years at committee, and I'm sorry, I'm going to say, shut up you. She's very level-headed. She's got a lot of common sense. That's the word I'm looking for. She's got a lot of common sense, and she did a lot. She put a lot into GFS, a lot. She really did. So them would be the people. Them would be the people I would go for.
Thank you. Looks like I'll be cooking forever, Catherine. All these people.
Yeah, I will, won't I?
We'll say it's only crisps and pot scratchings. Okay. So last question, Peter. What's the biggest threats the George Formby Society may face in the future, and how do we overcome these?
Did you say next question? That last question.
Last question. Biggest threats to Formby Society.
Well, to be honest with you, I think we're going through it at the moment. This pandemic has, you know, it's been so difficult. We should all be in Blackpool this weekend. And thankfully, because of previous people, I don't even need to mention them all night, all evening long. the society is a strong society, and it can withstand a lot of things. So, to be honest with you, a lot of things, the Joint Farming Society, in a way, has never changed since it started, with a few people on the committee. I probably shouldn't say this, but the committee's still its 60s in a way. To me, if you haven't got a proper role, what's the point in being on a committee unless you've got a job? It's more than just sitting around the table, nodding your head and agreeing and stuff. You need to be hands-on. You need to be hands-on. And I'm not blaming any committee member. It's just this is where we're being. When it first started, John Wally probably, well, I'm sure John would agree that everybody that started on that GFS committee were only there because they had a role to play. And there probably weren't as many people as there is now. They all probably had a role to play. I'm sorry to say, I don't think some of them have a role to play anymore. And don't tell me about, well, they organise a convention, because they don't, because members do that. You know, Tony Lister's wife gets involved with that. Das Barry does a lot of that. I know only what committee. The members do a lot of it. But where I think, I should be saying this, I do think that we should, to offset any threats to society in future, they need to attract younger people to come at committee. They really do. And I know we've had Lewis on, and he was an archivist, and he was brilliant. But he also, as he got involved with his father's business, and now his business, I suppose, and there's a lot to do. But one day I would hope to think that Lewis Clifton will come back and play a big part in this society. He's got to do it, and other people like him. I fear for future society, in as much as, and I'm not wishing anybody away, but what happens to the magazine when Tony Thornton can't do it? I remember asking this question when we were on committee, and I said, what, when Tony said, well, I'm not going to give up, but we all have to give up one day, and you never know when that's going to be. And I said, surely it would be a good idea to get somebody involved, somebody interested, needs to carry on. And I don't think I'm not privy to what happens at committee these days, but to the best of my knowledge, I don't think there's been any preparation made. I like to think there has been, and I really think there should be some preparation made. It's like the website's not as important. If I never did another word on website other than dates at convention meetings, it wouldn't matter. It's all there for people to look at, to join. It's basically there for folk to join, but there is such a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But it's not like having a magazine. It comes out every 3 months. And without a decent editor, where are you going to go with that? That is my big fear for the future. What happens?
So basically attracting new younger people to be involved in the society, to make sure we've got a society going forward in 10 years, 15, 20 years.
To attract younger people.
Oh, yeah. Also, I do think, and I'll give you a role now, I think one of the committee people could take up. And I can't understand why it hasn't been done in the first place. It needs to have somebody to get on a telephone and start to sell the society in 2021, 2022. When you think about media outlets, there's a million, everything's a media outlet, and everybody's looking for stuff. Everybody is. And all the GFS does, and a lot of other organisations, is when television or newspapers or whatever get in touch, or TV programmes want something to do, they respond, and it happens. I mean, Royal Albert Hall all came through a website. It needs more than a website. I think it needs somebody who is active. It's like when I used to flog insurance. It's throwing stones on water. You make a ripple. You're not going to sell out that night, but you'll do something. And I don't think anybody is doing that for society. It needs, I don't know what you want to call him, somebody, a media representative. Why doesn't somebody do that? it needs somebody who can talk to people, knows how to go on with telephone, and somebody can look for opportunities. When I was flogging insurance, nobody did it for you. You had to do it for yourself. You had to make it happen. And that's all I would want for society for the future, is somebody to make it happen. Going to schools, entertain kids. It's all there to do. And Andy's a school teacher. They want this stuff. You can't learn everything out of books. You want people stood in front of you doing stuff. So I hope the society will be here for many, many years. And it's not difficult to say, sell the society and it'll take care of itself. You can't, it's an ever-growing older population, sadly. And I wouldn't want it to be like that. I would like to think it with a lot of young people coming to it. I hope I haven't ended that on a negative note, because it's not meant to be. This society for me, like I said right at the beginning, has been my life. My life since I was 43-year-old. And I'll never, ever harm it or do out wrong to it. I love it. I love it so passionately, almost as much as I love her. So I think I've said enough, don't you?
Okay.
Unless anybody else has any questions.
No. Sorry, Peter. This is going through the chair. Okay, so that's our final question. It's been an amazing, interesting interview, to say the least, Peter. And you've come out with some really golden nuggets of history and your thoughts. And I've been really amazed how much you've taught. I want to say again, thank you, Peter and Catherine. This is our third interview, and it's been a fantastic success. Let's give a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Andy. Go on.
Go on, Peter. What was going to say?
Well, I'm amazed that so many people have come, because I thought when we'd done John Wallen and we did Lewis and Stewart, I thought, and then Andy saying, I want to do you, and I'm thinking, nobody's going to want to come at my nonsense. I mean,
you're right. You're absolutely correct. I've had to pay them to come.
Well, I will say one thing, at least, Andy Poppleton, and when I'm talking about committee, and I know you're vice president, which I was before you, you are not one of these people. I'm not referring to any committee man as being negative or whatever. They're all there for a reason and they're doing whatever. But you are one of the people that will carry it forward. I know you will, because you're still a relatively young man, and and I know your heart is in it just like mine is. So you are one of these people I would look to for future, and I'm sure a lot of people on here would agree with that. So can I just say to you, thank you for allowing me to come on here and spout. It's been quite a privilege, I must say. I feel quite honoured, I really do. So thank you all.
No, thank you
very much.
And thank you. And thank you to everyone who's participated in this interview, as well as sending in questions. Our next interview is going to be at the end of the month, and there'll be some information sent out on the Vellum, on the website. I'll be interviewing a real, true professional on the ukulele, and then, of course, I'm talking about the great Andy Eastwood. So that's at the end of June.
Good.
It will be. It can't be as bad as yours, so.
I'll tell you what, you should have done him before me.
Well, you're probably right.
I will look.
No, I'm only joking. I found it very interesting. I know lots of people will found that interview interesting, and it's great to interview people who've got more of an insight and experiences of the GFS and their own experiences playing ukulele. So thank you again, everyone. And please check out the website next couple of weeks for details about our next interview or questions, etc. So again, thank you very much.
Speaking of interviews, before you finish, Andy, I've done a couple of interviews. Well, I've done more than a couple of interviews. I did quite a lot of interviews at Wolverhampton Gasworks with Angie Parker. Whenever Kevin Staniland's playing golf, I'm always interviewing Kathy Staniland.
It beggars belief. It does. Okay, thank you, and keep safe, everyone. Don't catch COVID. And I think tomorrow we've got a advanced class with Lewis Clifton at 5 o'clock. Okay, so which I will be attending, so I can teach you how to play the uke. So thank you again, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you. God bless all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll press stop now.
Thanks
Yeah.
ever so much.
Yeah.
Thank
'Cause
you.
I'm coming back on.
Thank you,
I'm
Jonathan.
coming back on at 7 o'clock for us
Yeah.
with my idiotly dreamer. Okay. God bless all of you. And I'll see you soon.
Well
Take care.
said.